A subscriber recently emailed me about a strange subreddit r/Marton, which focuses on a town in New Zealand, but this is no ordinary town. From paranormal experiences to disappearances and superstitions, Marton certainly doesn't sound like a place you'd want to live. If you enjoy mysteries, true crime, disappearances and conspiracies, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more content like this. I also have a Patreon, so if you're interested in supporting the channel and accessing some bonus content, feel free to check it out, a link will be in the description. Marton is a town in North Island, New Zealand. To anyone who's never heard of it, it would seem like a pretty unremarkable place. With a population of around 5,500 people, it's been described as calm and peaceful. Looking at the Marton subreddit, most of the posts on there are either from people claiming to live in Marton or people who want to know more about the place. Some of the posts on there are pretty average, just what you'd expect on a community notice board, such as this one about organising a time to pick up rubbish and mentioning that the bakery has run out of loyalty cards but they ordered more in. This post simply wished residents a Merry Christmas. This post asked if the bread in the bakery is still safe. But when you dig a little deeper, you might find that there is more to this sleepy little town than meets the eye. The subreddit really gives the impression of quite a tight-knit community. It's almost like this town has secrets, and you only really know what's going on if you're one of them. Users have posted on the subreddit questioning why they were recommended it when they don't live anywhere near and have never even heard of the place. Many users have made Reddit posts on various subreddits asking what's going on, and they're always met with some pretty ominous replies. This user told someone it's better if they don't start asking questions, because if people ask questions, you'll risk bringing them back, and believe them, you really don't want them to come back. Another comment suggested OP turns back and forgets about this whole thing. Good luck. I'm really not sure where to start with all the bizarre happenings in Marton. It seems like a town that is full of superstition, unusual traditions, and odd-running themes. I found a post on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation that summarises some of the main points pretty well. I'll read the post, then we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the points. I'm stuck on mobile, so apologies for the lack of links. I try add some if needed. Marton is a fairly small town in the North Island of New Zealand. It's not super well known, I had only heard the name in passing before today. Today, you see, the subreddit r/Marton was recommended to me in a push notification, which I opened out of curiosity. That was about 3 hours ago, and I've only stopped reading the post there to post this and see if anyone has any idea what's going on, because I'm all kinds of confused. Personally, I ask you not to post on the sub itself. It seems to agitate the posters there, and they don't actually answer any questions much anyway. In summary, the tap water is frequently brown and smells or tastes bad. This part at the very least is verifiable, although more unusual people on the sub blame it on poisoning or mind-controlling chemicals from the nearby spy base, Tangi Moana. This water has also been blamed for giving people black lesions or spots and violent tendencies. There is some of this foul-smelling brown water near the local toy library, and apparitions or hallucinations frequently occur there, more so than the rest of the already haunted town. There seems to be some kind of local rituals around solstices and daylight savings, the DST ones especially being described quite ominously with warnings to pretend to be asleep, ignore voices and feelings of movement, among other things. There are many mentions of people going missing or disappearing but acting odd when returned, disorientated, complaining of eye pain, always wearing sunglasses, etc. One very prolific member who used to be a mod seems to be constantly ill, and a coded post references him spiritually dying. Lights or orbs are seen floating in the sky, sometimes near the spy base. One user described these orbs as brainwashing people into leaving, and was told not to post about that in public, as more eyes read the subreddit than realised. There are references to a secret True Marton sub that is only available via in-person invite at some kind of town meeting. There's more bizarre stuff, but this is what comes to mind. It all seemed very welcome to Night Vale to me, but it's been running for years with nothing coming out of it. All in all, it's a mix of paranormal experiences and conspiracies about spies. Questions from newcomers are either dismissed or occasionally shut down with answers saying there are ghosts or paranormal activities, and we don't talk about that. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. One interesting thing is that for a relatively small town, the Wikipedia page I linked above has a very extensive editing history. I didn't see any mentions of the paranormal, but the sub-users claim that it's so frequently edited to remove any mentions of it. I'm very unsure what to think. It seems too in-depth, long-running and private to be a joke or ARG. There's no real leads to follow aside from the general mystery bit. I was ready to take it as an exaggerated but genuine experiences of paranoid people until I read a post about a man running into a bonfire and dying at a solstice party. I'm so confused because I'm currently living near the town and this all just seems so nonsensical. Can anyone work anything out? ARG, inside joke, role-playing, mental illness, what do you think? Residents seem taken in by conspiracy theories. As the RBI post mentions, the tap water in Marton is often brown and smells and tastes bad. There's actually an article about this on stuff.co.nz, so that's true, but some users believe that this is a result of poisoning or mind control from chemicals that supposedly originate at a nearby spy base. Some users believe that the observers, whoever they are using chemtrails or geoengineering to pollute the town. There also seems to be some kind of conspiracy surrounding the cats in the town. Apparently many have disappeared, and a post from 3 years ago suggested that authorities were trying to get a dog cemetery built to hide all the cats that have disappeared. A comment on the post read, "It is absolutely critical to get all of the cats and dogs under the ground as soon as possible, be they pets or feral. The importance of this may not be obvious to you. If you saw the full picture, you would immediately bury your pets without hesitation." It seems that it's not just cats that go missing too. According to this post from 3 years ago, 132 people disappeared from Marton since 2006. The site linked in the post has since closed, and I couldn't find any other statistics to corroborate what the post claimed, but I have contacted the email address on this site and requested information, so hopefully I get a reply before this video is uploaded. A comment on another post which stated that people were leaving Marton due to the unexplained events suggested that people who aren't scared off by the sightings, presumably ghost sightings, are brainwashed to leave by the orbs. It seems that the members of this community are very open-minded to the paranormal. In fact, it seems like that's one of the subreddit's central themes, with many residents claiming to have had experiences with ghosts and other entities. A post that has since been deleted by the moderators detailed a resident's experience with what they called shadow men. The post read, "Been living in Marton for 4 years now. I'm used to some of the stuff that goes on here. The invasion of venomous toads back in August was a bit of a pain, but I've never seen something like this. At first I thought it was a few yobbos on the source getting rowdy, but by the time I left for work last Tuesday, I could clearly hear the death threats and screams from my loved ones. Every now and then I'll see one in the doorway before they disappear. One's hiding in the fridge right now. My mate Darren says the shadow people were trouble for his nan about 10 years ago, and she got rid of them with vinegar and morphine, but that hasn't yielded any results. All it's done is make them talk about burning things. Then again, Darren's from Sanson, so maybe that's why it doesn't work here. Any ideas?" This post is the epitome of the kind of things you'll see discussed on this subreddit. You might find the occasional post stating that ghosts aren't real, but most users act as if this is just an accepted part of life for them. One of the most interesting parts of this mystery is the superstitions and events surrounding the summer solstice and daylight savings time. It seems that residents believe this is when you are most likely to have a paranormal experience. According to a post 3 years ago, there is an annual curfew that is in effect until solstice, which that year was 4:24 PM on Wednesday the 21st of June. When it ends, the town holds a celebration. The rules of the curfew are: remain indoors, extinguish your lights and electronics, speak clearly to each other, and tell the authorities of any non-compliance. Maybe they saw the pandemic coming and were practicing lockdown. 2 users were tagged in the post who were apparently known curfew breakers and had been scheduled for reconditioning. I have no idea what reconditioning means exactly, but it sounds kind of ominous. Someone replied to a comment on the post saying, "The annual curfew has just started, but this time they have brought out drones to monitor us, or whatever is causing the strange lights at night." Another user here suggested buying some telescopic nets to catch them with. "I thought a drone fishing party sounded fun, but I'm worried they are sending video back. Can drones do that, or are they just storing the video on board? Who are they? What are the strange things? There are so many unanswered questions. Maybe they are the same people or other things named the observers who are supposedly responsible for the chemtrails. This all seems to relate to the beliefs around daylight savings time, when it's recommended that locals close all curtains and doors, be asleep or act asleep, with eyes closed during the transition, ignore feelings of movement, inertia, disorientation and nausea, and ignore any voices, even if they are familiar. Users seem to take this pretty seriously, making posts to warn everyone around the time each year, and each post has comments that show this. One asked if there are any extra precautions that can be taken as last year was a mess. A commenter on this year's post about DST asked if someone could call them as they were pretty sure they heard movement earlier. Someone commented after saying they couldn't call as they wouldn't know for sure who it was, don't answer familiar voices. A post was made a year ago titled DST is in 3 hours, but if I can't run this place I built anymore, then I am staying awake all night. For clarity, I think OP was referring to him no longer being a moderator on the subreddit. This post was met with comments telling the user not to do that. One read, "Chalky, this is crazy talk. You know you can't do that. Please reconsider." Another said, "This is stubborn and absolutely stupid. You need to go to sleep. We can talk about the subreddit tomorrow in person, okay? I'm not upset anymore about earlier. I'm in bed and won't be posting until tomorrow. My alarm is set. I'll call you in the morning." I don't know exactly what happens if you don't follow these rules, but a comment on one of these posts linked an image of an artist's rendition of daylight savings time. Maybe this shows the so-called shadow men. It's all just so eerie. They really seem to believe that something bad will happen if you don't follow the rules. I mentioned that there is a celebration when the curfew ends, but one year it didn't go too well. User Chalky, the same user who posted the rules about DST, made a post about the Solstice meetup party as it was happening. Only 5 people showed up at first, but they were making up the numbers with, quote, the Masons. Dick P was the DJ for the night, and he was going to be lighting the bonfire that the Masons put up at 9 PM. Despite the small turnout, it sounded like it was going to be a good night, but then things started to take a turn. Dick P is looking a little worse for wear after some few too many beers, belligerent and demanding that the bonfire be lit. Mood has changed here. Jesus Christ, Dick P has lost it, screaming, threatening people with a Masonic ceremonial sword off the wall. He's run into the bonfire with the sword. Oh God, oh Jesus Christ. This has been the worst night. Dick P has 90% burns on his body. He looks like a fried tomato gone wrong. The Masonic Hall is a mess from a huge punch-up and the karaoke machine going tits up and pumping out black smoke and lasers. Everyone who ate my strudel basically spent the night on the toilet, but I think the Masons sprinkled some kind of powder on it or something. They wouldn't tell me why the sausages from the sizzle tasted off, and someone found a fingernail in it. And Lolop decided they didn't want to play the hits. I've had a gutsful of this town, a complete gutsful. Every time I try anything, this happens. I'm a bit drunk and emotional. Quite frankly, it doesn't sound like this night could have gone any worse. I wasn't really able to find out much information at all about Dick P other than this YouTube video that is supposedly him. Sadly, Dick P is now deceased. It sounds like he died as a result of his injuries from the party, considering this post talks about the tough year they had, with the unintended sacrifice of the sadly missed Dick P. 7 months ago, Chalky made another post stating that he felt it was time to do another meetup. The title states that the debt has been repaid, and like so many things in this mystery, I have no idea what is meant by that. Chalky, who made this post and the post about the party, has been one of the main posters on the subreddit for quite some time. It seems that he used to be a moderator but stepped down after conflict with some of the other mods. He might have become a mod again at some point, but currently isn't one right now. A comment on a post on r/internet mysteries about Marton from someone who claimed to have lived there at one point said that Chalky is a real person who lives in the town. Nice bloke, honestly. But on here, he, or whoever is saying they're Chalky, would just post rants and conspiracy theories about the town that made absolutely no sense. The comment also said that Chalky doesn't actually know the truth about the town, but that's a story for another time. They didn't elaborate on what they meant by that. Chalky himself has made some pretty strange posts in his time on Reddit, such as this one asking, if you had a dog at the end of your driveway and wanted to see the reflection in its eyes, what would you use? He seems to be potentially the most relevant person in all this. There are many more bizarre stories from Marton, and this video would be way too long if I went into all of them, so I'd strongly recommend that you check out the subreddit yourself. It's very interesting. Now let's get into some theories on what might be going on here. It is a possibility, albeit a small one, that the posts are all true and that the residents are being haunted, or at least believe that they're being haunted, and the other crazy events really did happen. There are a few articles online about the supposed hauntings in Marton, so it at least seems that some of the residents really believe that they are being haunted. But since ghost sightings are unfalsifiable, I wanted to see if I could find any evidence for some of the other crazy events happening, such as Dick P dying at the Solstice party. I couldn't find a record of a Dick P dying in Marton, or of anyone dying by running into a bonfire. Now this doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. I'm not sure what Dick P's full name is, so me not being able to find an obituary doesn't mean that a guy called Dick P didn't ever die there. But despite it being quite a tight-knit community, there are other articles online about events in Marton, so you'd think something like the Solstice party fiasco would have probably made the news if it actually happened. So I'm fairly confident that this event, and probably some of the others mentioned in the subreddit, didn't actually happen. Another theory is that this is all an alternate reality game, or ARG for short. This is as good a theory as any. I mean, we have a mysterious town with strange events happening that can't be verified outside of the subreddit, where people either don't want you asking too many questions, or just invite you to the town to see for yourself. The town is clearly real, and it seems that some of the posters really are residents of Marton. Maybe this is some kind of inside joke between the residents, or maybe it's role-playing for some reason. Or they could be making up these stories and creating some kind of mysterious lore for the town to attract attention and in turn hopefully attract visitors or maybe even new residents to the area. It was said at one point on the subreddit that the population was declining, so maybe that's the purpose of all this. After everything I've seen, I would be lying if I said that I didn't want to visit the place myself. But this has all been going on for 3 years or more now. If it really was some kind of inside joke or ARG, you'd think people would have lost interest by now. It appears that Chalky has been posting on the subreddit since the beginning of all this, and he's clearly a well-known member of the community, with users often chatting to him on a personal level, such as about minor events that happened in Marton recently. All of this is just so elaborate that you'd think if this was some kind of joke that he and the other residents would have gotten bored by now. Some have suggested that the main active users, such as Chalky and other residents, might actually be mentally ill and that this could all just be some kind of delusion that they really believe in. And that's why they all act like the stories are real and why they're so invested in it. Which kind of reminds me of the whole thing about targeted individuals, how they genuinely believed that they're being gang stalked. It's definitely a possibility, but there are a number of users who post frequently. To think that this is all just some kind of delusion would mean that a lot of people would have to be suffering with some kind of mental illness for so many people to believe all this. It's possible that not all of these accounts are different people and there could be some kind of alternate accounts going on here, and it could just be a couple of individuals that have so many different accounts to make it look more real. But I did look into some of the users' post history and there's no obvious signs that these are alt accounts. It has been suggested that this all started after a man named Guy Williams did a comedic video on YouTube about the town of Marton.
I accidentally exposed one of the darkest corners of the internet, Marton Reddit. A local news discussion forum devoted to Marton that was riddled with posts warning of mysterious disappearances, murders, and worse, hauntings.
Some believe that a bunch of locals and probably other people saw the YouTube video and created a subreddit around it just as some kind of satire. It definitely makes sense that this could have contributed to what we're seeing now, that some users only heard about the town as a result of this video and they all just started playing along and just having a laugh really. A comment by a user who has been active on the subreddit for a long time stated that r/Marton started as a community message board, but then implied it became what it is today because of the video. But again, for all this to have been going on for so long, it's a pretty elaborate joke and there are some dedicated people involved in this. I'm sure this video can at least explain some of the mystery, but the other problem with this theory is that many of the posts and some of the strange events that supposedly happened way before this video was even uploaded. Things have definitely escalated since around that time, but it was already a strange place before this video. The video was uploaded in September 2018, and Chalky, as well as other users, had been commenting for months, probably even longer before that. The disastrous Solstice party supposedly happened before that, as well as the posts about the curfew and the daylight savings time and other paranormal experiences. So it makes sense that since this video, some people have probably just jumped on the bandwagon and played along as a joke. But the video definitely doesn't explain the strange occurrences before that. So we might have a theory for how this escalated, but I really don't know how all of this began. Whether it is some kind of elaborate joke or an ARG, or whether a few users are mentally ill and genuinely believe all these things, I just have no idea. I contacted Chalky on Reddit with hopes of finding out more information and being able to make some sense of all this. Here's our conversation. In your words, what's going on with r/Marton? To an outsider like myself, there seems to be some very strange things going on in the town. Are the posts about paranormal experiences and conspiracies true, or are people just hopping on the bandwagon and trying to create a mystery? Most everyone on here is now an American trying to fool everyone with nonsense. We delete it mostly. A good test is if the account posts to all kinds of random Reddits, like video games or American sports, then probably they're not from the area. We've taken almost all of the actual useful chat off the subreddit now because it has too much attention. There's another subreddit and we meet in person quite a bit. A lot of us are old farts now and can't be having with the internet culture. It's disheartening really. Plenty of what used to be discussed is fully true. You can Google it up, news stories about the girls' school closing due to ghosts and shadows, the pavilion is well known. What happens at summer solstice, and do you still have a curfew? I saw your post from a couple of years ago on the Solstice meetup party that went wrong. Could you give me any more information about that? What happened to Dick P? Is he still alive? It's summer and winter solstice, and not always exactly then, but activity seems to be higher. I stay indoors and recommend everyone does the same. Probably stupid. Dick P and Big Frank and many others of my generation are gone but still in our hearts. Please be kind to us with whatever you find. I promise the core of us are a good bunch and have only positive aims for the community. If you come by Marton, please do contact me. Have you personally experienced any strange things, ghosts or anything else in Marton? Yes, I have experienced many things in Marton. I don't know anyone who really hasn't. The area is becoming very popular now and population recovering and increasing, so I think activity might be dropping as sites get renovated and removed. You will think this is stupid, but this local group often talks about haunted houses and they let anyone join. If someone is looking to buy a house, they might warn them. Please be careful lifting rocks. Would you mind telling me a little bit more about the Solstice party where Dick P ran into the bonfire and threatened people with a sword? Did that actually happen? Did that result in Dick's death? Are there any articles on the event? I don't want to discuss it and can't legally, but there was a lot of alcohol involved and fingers pointed, and most of them at me. I did community service and cleaned up graffiti and weeds. It's all documented in my history. There's probably a notice in the district monitor. Beauchamp will have a record too. No idea about articles. Chalky told me to research Dick with a different last name. I haven't included that name in this video just in case it isn't public information, but I did try to do some further research and still came up with nothing. Beauchamp appears to be a funeral home in Marton. I did consider contacting them and asking them about all this, but I don't think they'd be able to give out that kind of information. I tried to find out more information from Chalky about the Solstice party as that's one of the events that I'm particularly interested in, but he didn't really want to talk about it anymore, so I just had to leave it there. I find Chalky a pretty fascinating guy. If this is all some kind of ARG, then it seems that he might be the game master here. But having looked through his post history and seeing his interactions with people and him telling me how he didn't like the Guy Williams video and that they felt ridiculed after this, I kind of find myself wanting to believe him. As I've said in previous videos, I don't actively believe in ghosts, but I am open-minded to the possibility of them. Now, I don't think that all the events that have supposedly happened in Marton really did happen, but I could at least get behind the idea that Chalky is telling the truth, or at least the truth that he believes. Meaning the things that he's saying probably aren't true, but I think that he believes that they are. I mean, he could just be role-playing, in which case he's very dedicated to the role. But he doesn't seem happy that the subreddit's been invaded by outsiders, so to speak. If this was some kind of ARG, you'd think that they'd all welcome people in. But they have a new subreddit set up that's private, and according to some posts, you actually have to be invited in person for them to let you join. Now this could just be them adding mystery to the ARG, just the fact that a private subreddit exists that no one has access to does make it more mysterious. But there is also a possibility that the residents just wanted a private place where they can discuss this kind of thing that they think is actually happening without outsiders looking in on it. Maybe Chalky is simply just a Marton resident who uses the subreddit as a community notice board and documents things that happen in the town as he sees it. The probable fact that none of this is real doesn't mean it's not real in the mind of Chalky and the other residents of the town. Not everything they've said can be verified, and Chalky acknowledged that the subreddit has become overrun with outsiders trying to fool people with nonsense, as he put it, but he did say that they've deleted that, so what remains appears to be what Chalky and a few other users genuinely believe is going on in the town. After my conversation with him, I'm still left with more questions than answers. It seems like some people in the town just don't want anyone asking questions, and others, like Chalky, will answer a few questions, but shut down when you probe too much. So in conclusion, this has been quite a fascinating rabbit hole. I still don't know exactly what's going on in this strange little town, but I'm not done looking into this. Even if this turns out to be nothing more than an inside joke or an ARG, which is quite possibly the case, I still find the story of all this pretty compelling, and I'll continue to follow the subreddit. I encourage you to do the same, but please don't go on there to troll or ridicule. If you're from the area and you have anything true or relevant to share, by all means do, but don't add to the influx of people who are just trying to make a mockery out of all this, as it's clearly something that upsets the residents. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is an inside joke or an ARG, or do you have a completely different theory? If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday in a new video.